Hey guys, today I am walking through a new construction home. The reason behind this is one of our very, very important topics in Florida right now is home insurance, right? Flood insurance, all kinds of insurance. So I wanted to come to a place where it gives you a better opportunity to have less expensive insurance. Anything new these days tends to have better codes, tends to have better efficiencies, and saves you a ton of money in the long run. We've got some fixes on the way, we've got some fixes that are currently running, and we've got a lot of conditional things that you have to consider when you're looking at homes. So what we're gonna do today is I'm going to take you through two different homes, show you some of the differences between them, and there's gonna be some extreme differences. This first home that I'm in right now, while you can't see a lot of what's going on here, I'm gonna walk around the counter here, see if you can't follow me. And we're going to look at condition of properties. Condition of properties plays a big part in the insurance, right? So does the age of the home. Location, all those things play a part. But as you can see, this home, they started the project after some damage from who knows what, could have been the storm, could have been whatever, and now it's in disarray. But some of the things in here, it's so important to pay attention to because it could affect you being able to get insurance at all. And when you start adding these things up, you're going to see that it might be better for you just to go after a new construction home that has all the modern efficiencies and you're going to get the best insurance rates. If you remember my video when we were talking about Stonewater and I had Pat, we were doing a little interview with him, he told us that all the new construction homes in that community are $1,200 a year for the insurance and there's no flood insurance needed. That's the kind of scenario I'm talking about. So if you're somebody that you know you don't want to deal with all these hoops to jump through, because we haven't even talked about that hoop of flood, right? We know that flood insurance is a concern in our area, and it's a question I get from people constantly. I am in a home that's only 5 years old, and I know that my insurances have stayed very low, under $2,000 a year with no flood insurance, and there's nothing exceptional about the location, nothing exceptional about the home. Replacement value obviously has gone up, but the insurance hasn't really shown that so far. So maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's just a sign of the times, but the new construction definitely is going to help. So when we talk about insurances, think about one thing. Is that older home with all that character worth the extra money that you're going to pay in insurances? One of the very first things that we need to know about insurance is that you're not guaranteed insurance with anybody. Yes, Citizens is the fallback. That's the one that is a state-run insurance that if you don't get it with the other carriers, they usually pick it up. But even they have standards. So if you don't fit within the guidelines, and there's a rating system. You might hear me say this a couple times throughout, but there's a rating system that they use. So when we talk about credits and discounts and things like that, I can't tell you exact numbers because everything's case by case. They take it as a whole and evaluate the home before they tell you what they can do insurance-wise and what kind of rates they can do. Older homes, they have certain things that just aren't able to keep up with the new construction, and I'm going to point out a few of them as we go through. One of them that you heard of previously in some of my videos is the third nail in a hurricane strap. Well, let me see if I can show you. Okay, those straps that are coming down onto the concrete, they then go up on top into the wood. Those are hurricane straps. It only needs 3 nails to get the top credits, but as you can see, they've gone well above 3 nails on those straps. So that's one of the things of the hurricane strap. We definitely have a concern, and in fact, right now, we are in the midst of a tropical storm. It's going to be here in the next day or two, and that's just something that we will encounter when we get to it. I talked to Angela over at Chapman Insurance, and she has a wealth of knowledge. If you need a good insurance agent, I'd be happy to hook you up with her. But she spent a great deal of time explaining to me many of the things that they look for, what reports we're going to need to get the insurance and why they're important. And we're going to run through some of that stuff today to prepare you for when you're looking to purchase your home in Florida. Remember, again, I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida, and if you want to connect with us and get yourself going in the right direction, call, text, email, Zoom call, whatever it is, we're here to help you. Okay guys, so again on this insurance thing, Insurance is obviously a hot topic, and one thing that you need to know about any kind of insurance here is you're not guaranteed to get insurance. We do have a number of insurance companies. We are adding new insurance companies. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. So it's going to be easier. The numbers are going to be a little bit better than what they've been, but even Citizens, who is our state insurance company, who is supposed to cover everybody if you can't get a policy elsewhere, they still have guidelines, they still have standards. And if you don't hit those standards, you're not getting insured. So when I say that you could potentially have no insurance, there's also a couple other things to consider. If there's known damage in the home like this home has, and just to give you an idea of what that looks like, it's not just what you saw behind me the first time. I mean, look, they literally, cabinets are torn off the walls. It's not a great situation, but I'm gonna walk you through here real quick and see, we have unfinished drywall. We have storm shutters that don't open or close properly, and there's even some things living in it. And the sliders around the house, they don't even close and lock properly. And yes, I know, this is kind of odd, right? Sliders going outside from the master shower. Yeah, they actually did that here at one time. And there's a nice one, right? I think that's an AC vent, a portable AC unit that can vent to the outside, and it's there. Now it's covered, thankfully, but how long that cover stays, I don't know, and that hole's big enough for many things to get through it. So, I told you this would be an extreme situation, and I picked this particular home because it has so many things wrong with it that I am able to point out a lot of what you want to avoid when you are, So this home has a lot of what you'd want to avoid if you're looking for a home, right? So we're gonna run through some more things, and then I'm gonna take you to a brand new construction home and show you exactly what you want to have in your home and why new construction might be a better angle for you. I truly think that a newer home or an updated home, and when I say updated, there is a cosmetic remodel and then there is a true update. And normally when the home needs a certain percentage or more to get it fixed, like if you're improving the value by 50% or more, you have to bring the whole home up to code. So that would mean those hurricane straps, that would mean putting that third nail in that hurricane strap. That would mean potentially having to re-roof and make sure that the nailing pattern is done properly. Obviously, if the home had the wrong kind of piping, you would need to repipe the home. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. This is why it's super important to understand exactly what you're walking into on an older home, because there will be costs after the fact if you're not careful. The age of the home is huge. Components of the home are huge. So one of the biggest ones is the roof, right? You hear about it all the time. Well, if the roof's 15 years or older, I can't get insurance. That's not true. Angela told me that they allow you to get a roof inspection done, and if it's certified for 5 years or more, you're getting insurance. So don't just throw it out if it looks like it might not get it because of the age. We also have ways to track the permitting and find out how old that roof is exactly. This particular roof was a re-roof. Now, re-roofs might not get the same grace as a tear-off and recover, just because it's got an extra layer of unknowns in it. But that's something that you cross that bridge when you get to it again. There's qualifying things, there's a rating system that will tell you exactly where you need to be. Now, if your home that you're considering is 20 years or older, you're going to need a wind mitigation report. The wind mitigation is going to say basically how the home will hold up in a certain speed of winds. And there's a couple things that they look for when they're doing this. Okay, so with any of these homes, a couple of the structural things that you're going to also be looking at is if you have a hip roof is the flat lines. So when you look at a roof, you are going to see the roof line is straight. And if you have a gable, that means the peaks. So I think we got a couple gables over there across the canal. But gables, if you have any more than 10% gables on your roof line, then you do not get full credit for your insurance. So make sure that you're paying attention to whether your roof line is hip style or whether it is a gable, because it will cost you in the end if you don't. And you're going to need a 4-point inspection. That is going to give all kinds of details about the home, the plumbing, the electrical. It'll go over even the breaker box. Make sure it's not a Federal Pacific, because if it would be something like a Federal Pacific breaker box, you cannot get insurance. Federal Pacific is not on these boxes, so it looks like we're okay with those. You'd have to be paying cash. That's the one way around getting insurance, is paying cash. But then you know what happens? You're fully on the line for the entire repair if anything happens. As I mentioned, we have a tropical storm on the way. It's going to turn to a hurricane. It's following the same pattern as Ian did. They're telling us that, again, it's supposed to go up above Tampa. Is it going to? I don't know. However, this is where insurance is. As soon as that storm gets named, and right now it's called Helene, being named, now these home insurances cannot be bound to that house. They have to wait until the storm passes. So that's another thing to remember. If you see a storm is coming and you need insurance, either get that policy put in advance of the storm, or you're gonna have to wait until after and just pray that nothing happened. So if there's known damage in a home, it doesn't mean you won't get insurance. It means they might give you a higher insurance rate at the outset and give you a grace period, usually of about 30 days. In those 30 days, you make the repairs and the updates that you know you can make, so that then maybe you can bypass some of those expenses, get that cheaper rate, so that overall it's going to be a more affordable home too. But don't go after homes that have the known damage because you want to, I don't know, maybe you want to fix and flip it, maybe you want to put some sweat equity into it. Let us help you run the numbers on that and show you why that may not be your best choice. But then again, some people want to do things their own way in their own time, and I get it. So we're here to assist you in whatever way is going to make your process easier. Now, I've had clients, Melissa's one that stands out really strongly in my head, because she was going into a Gulf access property. Gulf access properties have one unique thing in our area, and that is normally flood insurance, because they're right on the water. And especially when you're really close with your access, I'm going to say they were about 5 minutes to get to the pass where they can open up the throttle. So that means that they're going to be really close to those passes where the tidal changes are going to be even stronger. So the further you work your way up a canal system, the better off you are when it comes to flood insurance, because the tidal change isn't as extreme as it would be at that opening. But we are here, actually, this home that we're sitting here, it is Gulf access. So I can show you some of the things that we are looking at. And you can see right now how many feet are there from the water to the top of the seawall. That seawall right there across the way is a little bit newer than this one. That's why you can see the elevation difference. They're two different heights. So that will help them a little bit. But one thing to mention, seawalls will not be covered in your insurance. There is no insurance for that. There is an insurance that can be added for other structures, and that would be things that would handle your dock, your canopy tops. Oh, let me just flip this around for you. So you see that over there? You've got the canopy top, you've got the dock. Those things can be covered with a policy for other structures. But again, the seawall cannot be done, so don't consider that. Also, cages will be part of the home insurance. Those pool cages, like this one over here. So those can be covered, but it's the structure only. The screens aren't included. That's a whole nother thing. Can you get a screen policy? I believe she said you can get a screen policy, but I don't know that that would be beneficial. It's something you have to look at and see what the cost basis is and if it makes sense. Anyway, with Melissa, when she found her insurance, her flood insurance was first $10,000 for the year. And she shopped around, and Angela told me the same thing. Shop, shop, shop. Get out there and look, and don't just settle for the first one, because there are policies out there that are much cheaper. And when it was all said and done, Melissa got her policy for $4,000. So quite a big difference. So do your homework, do a little extra work, try to find that source that's going to make your your life even easier and cost effective. Now, as we were talking earlier, these new construction homes versus old construction, a lot of it is the materials that are used to build. We have piping issues here in this area. The water is very harsh, and if you had copper, basically the minerals in the water eat away at the copper and end up causing them to leak. There's another one called polybutylene. Polybutylene was a gray pipe. It was used back in the day. It becomes brittle over time, and it too will break, causing a flood inside. And it's not the same kind of flood as we're talking about with the hurricanes and stuff. That is a rising water flood, so it's a different kind of insurance. But those polybutylene pipes, they've been replaced. And these are the kind of pipes that we use now. So it's still a poly type of material, but it can handle the water, and it's not going to give you the same kind of problems as the polybutylene and the copper. You see these pipes? These are CPVC. Therefore, it's been replumbed already. There's no copper. So that's a good sign. There's the old copper. There's the new lines. And also, things like wiring. Back in the day, we had aluminum wiring, and that would cause fires. So we had to do away with that. And now, the wiring has been all updated. Therefore, you cut down your risk of fire. The breaker box I already mentioned, Federal Pacific. You've got to stay away from any of those and have them replaced. It's about $2,500 to replace a Federal Pacific breaker box, but it would be a must if you want insurance. Now, the other surfaces that we need to talk about are the other pieces and parts of a home. Believe it or not, a water heater. You cannot have a water heater over 15 years old and get insurance. Look at the rust. Look at all that rust. That thing is shot. And right there, can you see that? A 1999? Yeah, it complies with the 1999 standards. So I think that we got a problem there. And we might as well talk about roofs now too, because right now, the roofing part of the home has been difficult, to say the least. There was a time where they were saying that if your roof was any older than 15 years, you just can't get insurance. Well, they kind of dodged that bullet by allowing you to get a roof inspection and get the roof certified. If the roof is certified to say there's at least 5 years or more left on that roof, you're good to go. You'll get your insurance. You don't have to worry about changing anything. Roof materials. Angela was sharing with me, shingle roofs, you are looking at about 15 years on that. And they could cut that even shorter. The tile roofs are 15 to 30. The metal roofs are 30 to 40 years. That's why so many people went to a metal roof when the storm came through and they had to change their roofing material. They just went to metal because it's a little bit more expensive, but in the end, it is going to save you money. So materials that you're building with, definitely very important. We talked about the roof and how they changed the nail pattern. They changed that third nail in the hurricane strap. The other thing they did is the length of the nails. Did not know this, but that was also changed so that it digs in deeper. The nail pattern, they want to do it every 6 inches, so you have to abide by that. So many of these things have been updated. In fact, all the way down to, you're going to love this, impact windows. These are impact windows. In fact, it says it right there, impact resistant. So that is another addition that we're making to make these homes safer, to make them more cost effective, and to give you the biggest discounts when it comes to insurance. Okay, so down here, you know that a lot of people want solar, right? You hear it all the time. Well, one thing with solar that has to be thought of, if you put solar down on an older roof, you could very well lose your insurance. So you might want to consider finding out what the guidelines are with the insurance company that you're currently under, and tell them the age of your home, that you're going to add solar. Find out if there's anything that you need to do so that you're not going to lose your coverage, because that has and can be a problem. Angela shared that with me. Solar can be a great thing, but some insurance companies don't even want to deal with it. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of adding solar, and if there's really going to be that big of a difference in your expenses by adding it. Now, flood insurance. Flood insurance is definitely one of our biggest concerns and situations now. In fact, in the last couple of days, we've been working with Joe and Paul in 2 different transactions. And one of the first things they wanted to know is in a flood zone. We do have a map that shows us whether a property does fall within a flood zone, and it doesn't have to be the whole house. If any piece or portion of that home falls within the floodplain, you could have insurance. One of the things that you will note on many of the homes that are being built right now is they're changing the elevation to make sure that the flood or the elevation height, the floor height, is at a minimum of 9 feet. As you can see how the steps go up there, that's not the normal build style here. Normally you just have a little step right into the house. They built this up on a little bit of a stem wall. That way they have more height to get to that floor elevation. So that's another thing that a new house can bring you. An older home, if you have, again, 50% of your value, if that was the damage and the claim that you put in, you will need to update all the codes in your home, and that includes elevation. If your elevation isn't high enough, they'll make you raise the house. Yeah, it doesn't sound possible, but they do it all the time. I thought it was kind of odd to hear that too, but they can raise the elevation on your home in order to be sure that you are out of the floodplain. And Angela shared that yes, regardless of what you heard, that now they're just using this one flood map and that doesn't care about the elevation, that's wrong. Elevation still matters. So talk to a competent insurance person. I'd be happy to direct you to Angela and let her talk to you. But this is also something, when you're picking your real estate agent, make sure that they know all these things. Make sure that they're in the market understanding what's going on out here so that you don't end up stuck. Okay, so a couple things that will affect you with your homeowner's insurance, and we're just going to run through a couple things. Angela said, do not strip down your policy trying to save money. So let's just say that your monthly amount is a little bit more than you wanted to spend. Don't change how much is covering the home. Do not change your deductibles unless you can afford it. There's usually a negligible difference between, say, a $500 and $1,000 deductible. If you jump that up to $5,000 or $10,000, obviously it's going to change the policy for you. It's going to make it a lot more affordable. However, you're going to have to come out of pocket with that money should you ever need to. The standard deductible that Angela shared with me is 2%. So going to 5%, that isn't going to make much of a difference. She said if you go to 10%, that's where you're going to see a lot more savings. But those are things that really come down to what the affordability factor is for you and how it's going to affect the coverages on your home. All right, another thing you can do if you want to save some money on insurance is bundle your insurances together. That's right, get your auto, get your, in my case, boat, get your house, get your umbrella policy if you happen to own a business. Get all your insurances under one and bundle them together. That usually saves you a bit of money. Another thing you might want to do is get regular maintenance on the home. That helps keep things in working order so you don't run into any problems. AC units, that's a big one. If you have dirty filters and things like that, it can cause fires. Same thing with your dryer. The dryer, clean the lint out of the freaking exhaust, because if you don't, and a fire starts there, that's just one headache you didn't have to go through. All you had to do is clean that pipe out. There's also what they called preferred builders. So there are some preferred builders that are on the lists, ones like Lennar, D.R. Horton. I think they also mentioned LG Homes. So there's a few that are on that list that she just briefly rattled off. I'm sure Taylor Morrison's going to be on there too. Pulte. So some of the bigger ones are going to obviously be on the preferred list. And if you're on the preferred list, that just makes it easier to get insurance on that home because they know the product and they know its value and they know it's going to hold up. Okay, so basically the whole rundown of all of this is if you want to have the lowest insurance rates, a newer home is going to be in your best interest. Yes, you're going to give up the character of the home. Let's just say it that way because that's what a lot of people want in an older home. They don't want the same home that everybody else in the neighborhood has. But the newer one is going to give you a little bit more peace of mind. It's going to give you greater efficiencies. It's going to bring down your insurances. And I think overall you'll find the efficiencies, especially now that we use impact glass or dual pane windows. Those were never a thing before. So if you don't have dual pane or the impact, you're not insulating properly and you're going to feel the heat through the windows. feeling heat through the windows means it's radiating into the house. That AC is running more than it should, and it's just going to break everything down faster. So keep that in mind. Let's look towards just getting all these facets in order. Make sure that you are doing your due diligence. Make sure your real estate agent is doing the due diligence with you, and be sure to check all the boxes to make sure you're saving the most money. If you've got any questions that I haven't addressed here and you want to know more about moving to this area, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got any other questions beyond that, you've got a call, text, email. Hey, even do a Zoom call with me. We'll go ahead and get you straight, get you all set up, and we'll get you protected the way you should be, because we've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.